The United States of America, at the core of its founding, upholds the sovereign individual, holding that all people are created equal, having inherent rights bestowed to us by our Creator, that these rights do not derive from the authority of the established government, yet rather are immutable to all human beings. Therefore, the state cannot remove these rights by the exercise of its own power, a power given to it by the will of the people who instituted it. Instead, it is entrusted to protect these fundamental rights. Thus, any government that should fail to do so, or seek to restrain them, are by definition authoritarian. Such actions should be opposed by all free-thinking individuals who wish to maintain their human rights, or else run the risk of them being regulated by the state. The Bill of Rights enshrined these rights into the foundation of American law, not as a matter of what the government has given us, but rather to restrict the government from interfering with what is innate within us, as it cannot prohibit or abridge the free exercise of these unalienable rights, such as freedom of speech, freedom to peacefully assemble, freedom of religion, freedom to bear arms, along with so much more. The very concept of this being that these rights are not debatable, as they are intrinsic to the individual. To restrict these rights is by its very nature an oppressive act. It is the government's solemn duty to uphold these freedoms, as they are the root of what allows the country to have life and liberty, as well as giving its citizens the ability to pursue their own happiness. For throughout history, we have seen the effects of authoritarian governments and policies that suppress the rights of the individual, done with the justification of improving or protecting the public good, all sacrificed at the altar of enhancing society by governing bodies or elected officials who take the power invested in them to radical proportions. Whether through altruistic or malice intentions, these types of top-down approaches to developing a better society always lead to perilous outcomes, even if there might be momentary gain in some capacity, as impeding the innate rights of citizens lead them to feeling tyrannized when they are unable to speak their minds or go about as they please for fear of government penalty.
This large gathering is also a public health violation, okay? So at this point, I'm going to ask you all to disperse. I'm going to ask you all to leave the city sidewalk. I'm going to ask you all to leave the parking lot. If you all leave, no harm, no foul. If you fail to leave, if you do not disperse, you will be subject to a physical arrest and taken to Wake County Jail. Okay? This is your first opportunity to leave. If you leave, there will be no problem.
Where's the Constitution?
If you do not leave, you will be arrested.
Constitution! Constitution!
Even with the constitutional protections afforded to us by the Bill of Rights, we see time and time again attempts by those in power to curtail these rights, even when their proposals are blatantly unconstitutional, with some of the most recent examples being various state attempts to ban what certain politicians describe as assault weapons, from Virginia's state legislature plan to ban certain semi-automatic guns, to Georgia Democrats' bill that would basically do the very same, to even presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke's insistence that hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
All of this is urged for and attempted by politicians with a particular ideological belief, even in the face of the Second Amendment, that clearly affirms our right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
The Second Amendment doesn't grant us this right. God did. The Second Amendment simply tells the government that they cannot impede on our rights. What part of shall not be infringed do they not understand?
Yet just as our right to bear arms is routinely attacked,
To gun owners out there who say, well, a Biden administration means they're going to come for my guns.
Bingo. You're right if you have an assault weapon. The fact of the matter is they should be illegal, period. Look, the Second Amendment doesn't say you can't restrict the kinds of weapons people can own.
Our First Amendment rights are just as much under assault. with constant cries to ban what those on the far left regard as hate speech, with lawmakers and activists clamoring for hate speech laws, to religious beliefs being violated, namely those of Christian faith, as they are constantly maligned as being hateful and bigoted, such as when Bernie Sanders imposed an unconstitutional religious test on a nominee for public office for simply having Christian beliefs, stating that this nominee is really not someone who this country is supposed to be about.
You wrote, Muslims do not simply have a deficient theology. They do not know God because they have rejected Jesus Christ, his son, and they stand condemned. End of quote. Do you believe that that statement is Islamophobic?
Absolutely not, Senator. I'm a Christian, and I believe in a Christian set of principles based on my faith. That post, as I stated in the questionnaire to this committee, was to defend my alma mater, Wheaton College, a Christian school that has a statement of faith that includes the centrality of Jesus Christ for salvation.
Do you believe that people in the Muslim religion stand condemned? Is that your view?
Again, Senator, I'm a Christian, and I wrote that piece.
Well, what does that
accordance
say?
With the statement of faith of Wheaton
I
College.
understand that. I don't know how many Muslims there are in America. I really don't know. Probably a couple of million. Are you suggesting that all of those people stand condemned? What about Jews? They stand condemned too?
Senator, I'm a Christian.
I understand you are a Christian, but this country is made up of people who are not just. I understand that Christianity is the majority religion. Do you think that people who are not Christians are going to be condemned?
Thank you for probing on that question. As a Christian, I believe that all individuals are made in the image of God and are worthy of dignity and respect regardless of their religious beliefs. I believe that as a Christian, that's how I should treat all individuals.
And do you think your statement that you put into that publication, they do not know God because they've rejected Jesus Christ the Son and they stand condemned, do you think that's respectful of other religions?
Senator, I wrote a post based on being a Christian and attending a Christian school that has a statement of faith that speaks clearly with regard to the centrality of Jesus Christ and salvation.
I would simply say, Mr. Chairman, that this nominee is really not someone who is what this country is supposed to be about. I will vote no.
Even today, among the Chinese coronavirus pandemic, we see the flagrant encroachment of our constitutional right to peacefully assemble. So unlike other obvious endeavors to impede our rights, the onset of the pandemic caused by the Chinese coronavirus has seen objective constraints on our First Amendment right to peacefully assemble, as the government at both the state and local levels have declared emergency powers through executive orders that asserts they have the authority to direct the lives of individuals for the safety of public health, issuing stay-at-home orders and banning gatherings of large groups, in clear defiance of our constitutionally protected right. They go even further by not only mandating people comply, but arresting some who fail to do so, such as a New Jersey homeowner who hosted a wedding at his home, or a Tampa, Florida pastor who decided to hold church services despite a safer-at-home order, with some state and local governments actively encouraging citizens to report violations of social distancing orders.
And that means sometimes making sure the enforcement is there to educate people and make clear we gotta have social distancing. So now it is easier than ever when you see a crowd, when you see a line that's not distanced, when you see a supermarket that's too crowded, anything, you can report it right away so we can get help there to fix the problem.
Regardless of the powers governors and mayors may grant themselves, their authority does not supersede the Constitution of the United States, even in times of crisis, as it was written specifically to curb the authoritarian tendencies that all governments inevitably fall into, by limiting what it can do rather than granting what it can do. Because as the saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, as any government that grants itself new powers rarely gives them up. So as we see elected representatives across the United States give their offices the ability to supersede our right to peacefully assemble in service of the greater good, they surely set precedents that future politicians elected to those same offices will be able to exploit, citing these past infringements as justification for what they may consider a dire emergency situation. Make no mistake that those who claim their causes to be just will use such methods to usher in what they deem to be beneficial to society, should they ever gain the power to do so. As we have seen in the past, various politicians warning about what they believe to be the irreversible effects of the climate change crisis.
This is about our lives. This is about American lives, and it should not be partisan. Science should not be partisan. We are facing a national crisis, and if we do not ascend to that crisis, if we do not ascend to the levels in which we were threatened at the Great Depression, when we were threatened in World War II, if we do not ascend to those levels,
as well as their concerns over a gun violence epidemic, with their own scientists and research papers to give credence to their assertions, while using their own emergency powers to bring about the changes they desire, all behind the pretext of protecting the public health.
Gun violence is a national health emergency in this country, and we need to treat it like that. We need to treat this like the virus that's killing our children.
So even with people dying from the Chinese coronavirus, it is not an excuse to hamper our fundamental rights, as people have fought and died to secure these very freedoms and to ensure they are upheld by our government, even if they assure us that the measures they are taking is temporary. If we, the people, fail to push back against authoritarian orders, in the future we may find ourselves with far less freedom for what amounts to hollow safety. Because no matter how much the government may enact guidelines or give out orders, it can never guarantee your safety or your health. However, it can guarantee your rights that were laid out in the Constitution of the United States by simply doing what it was instructed to do, not prohibiting, abridging, or infringing upon your unalienable rights, rights that are far more important to the life and liberty of the nation than any government order. So do not misunderstand. In the midst of the Chinese corona pandemic, no one wants people to get sick. No one wants people to die. Yet we all have to face the fact that this is the world we live in, that people die on a daily basis from numerous reasons, be they sickness to just random accidents. President Trump has characterized the fight against the pandemic as a war. Yet like any war, it will eventually end. We have to ensure our rights aren't another casualty in the struggle. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. You can find all my videos on BitChute, Library, and YouTube, of course. All my videos are based on my content over on my Minds page, so go check that out. Links to all this will be in the description, of course. Thanks again, and God bless.